Welcome to the Dudeology show, where real dudes discuss awesome stuff, killer gear, and cool stories. We're your hosts, Brandon Mosley and Chris Gambino. Make sure to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and all the socials at Dudeology Show. Welcome to the Dudeology Studios with your hosts, the self-proclaimed professors of Dudeology, B-Money, and my funk soul brother, the Gambino. Also joining us is John Richardson, former track and field athlete at the University of Kentucky. Before we get any further, take a moment and click on subscribe. And once you do that, sit back and relax, knowing that you have done your part in advancing the movement. Good evening, John.
Hello. Good evening. Hello.
John, before we get into your story, I'd like to read some facts as they relate to running 1 mile in under 4 minutes.
Let's hear it.
Okay, a 4-minute mile is the completion of a mile run, which is 1,760 yards or 1,609.34 meters in 4 minutes or less. It was first achieved in 1954 by Roger Bannister at age 25 in 3 minutes, 59.4 seconds. The 4-minute barrier has since been broken by only 1,497 male athletes and is now the standard of all male professional middle distance runners. Running a mile in 4 minutes translates to a speed of 15 miles per hour, 1,320 feet per minute, or 22 feet per second. John, you are one of 1,500 people in a world of 7.8 billion people who has officially broken the 4-minute mark or the 4-minute barrier for the 1 mile. 1,500 out of 7.8 billion. You are definitely breathing some rare air. That is a huge accomplishment based both personally and athletically. Take us back to that day when that happened.
Yeah, for sure. So thanks for reading all those stats. It sounds impressive.
Right.
I don't know how I did it.
He's probably trying to find some rare air after that.
Absolutely.
No, I mean, that was a lifetime ago. I remember the day distinctly, so it's a good question. It's going to take me down memory lane. So I remember waking up that morning, and my girlfriend at the time, as my wife now, had made me pancakes. And it was really cute. She made them in the shape of a 359. So it was 3 different pancakes, 359. It was really nice, and it was basically the equivalent of senior day at Kentucky. So it was my senior year. It was the last home track meet. There's a lot of just sort of building going on there. And my dad came in at the last minute because I was like, hey, Dad, I think you might want to be here for this since something's special. You know, training had been going well, and the plan wasn't to run a mile that day. The week after, we were going to New York City, and then the week after, we were going to Seattle. So running 3 hard meets in a row is not really what you want to do. But on Tuesday before the meet, my training partner David and I smashed this workout. Like, it was really good. It was one of those when you finish, you're like, whoa, did we really do that? Like, looking at the splits, and our coach was like, boys, I think you're ready. So we looked at the schedule, and we found somebody that would come and pace us for the race. There wasn't a whole lot of other people in there, so we knew that, we could kind of control the flow of that race. So on Tuesday, we made the decision, okay, let's race on Saturday. So that was when my dad came in. All my teammates were there. There was just like a lot of just, something special was kind of in the air. The announcer was going to hype it up, and, the gun went off. And I really don't remember many things about the race. I just remember, just moving, hearing the splits, and just, I think most of my memories actually come from watching the video of it afterwards. I just remember being really tired and then really, really I think there's because you put so much pressure on yourself to hit a certain time, and so much of running a certain time is out of your control. Like, I can control the effort that I give, and I can control how hard I run, and I can race tactically, beautifully. But, something might happen that, somebody cuts me off, or anything can go wrong in a race. And a lot of times actually finishing under 4 minutes was going to be out of my control. Like, I had been in the equivalent 4-minute shape before that in my life, but didn't run the time. So, I think one of the reasons why there's so few people that have done it is not because it's so hard physically to do. It's hard mentally to do, to be your best on that given day, and to have all of those things line up the way that, fortunately for me, it did, because that number is so special. Because think, had I run 4:00.3, I may not be on the show right now. You know what I mean? Hopefully I still be, because you guys like me. But, it is I
think we still like John, right?
Yeah, you like John, but I want to be on the show. But it is, and Roger Bannister broke 4 minutes 65 years ago, I think. So there's not many things that happened 65 years ago that people are still really impressed by. But people are still really impressed by a sub 4 minute mile. And I think it's because all of us have at one point in our life run a mile as fast as we can and know what, like if you just talk to somebody in the street and you say, what's a fast mile? Somebody would be like, I don't know, 8, 7:30. Like there's just, it's so out of this world for a normal person to think about a person running a sub 4 minute mile.
When you're a collegiate runner, you're performing at that level, is that like a thing with everyone? Like, got to break 4 minutes. Like how does that rank in your achievements, I guess, of people that do what you do?
That's a good question. It's definitely up there. Like I have some friends of mine that ran fast at every distance, but never broke 4 minutes for a mile. And I think that that's a lingering regret that they have. I think any successful middle distance or distance runner that hasn't broken 4 minutes wishes that they had. In terms of like athletic achievements, I think that winning some of the races that I've won were probably better achievements. But like my claim to fame probably as a runner is going to be sub 4 minute mile. Like, that's what people will talk about. They'll appreciate that more though, even though that there was a more significant event that happened in my career.
And you won a lot of races in high school, right? In the state of New Jersey, correct?
Yeah.
Talk about some of that.
So I was the first New Jersey athlete to ever win the 800 and the 1600 meters in the same meet of champions. So I was effectively a state champion in New Jersey in both of those distances. And then I was a runner-up in the 800 at the Adidas High School National Championships.
Man, that's some good stuff. Did you have? So back then, I watched the video of the sub 4 minute mile. You had a more streamlined haircut. Was that part of the strategy?
I think this is my quarantine cut that I'm just kind of holding on to. A year ago, I had the same haircut. I had taken it down to a no guard actually, so I'd gone a little bit lower. But yeah, I mean at that, I had buzzed my legs for that race. I went all in. I didn't want to
every second counts.
Yeah, exactly. Every tenth of a second
advantage.
Counts. Yeah.
And those are like some of the little preparations. Talk about the bigger conditioning preparations. How many hours were you spending at the track daily, weekly, diet, recovery? Tell us help us understand what that looks like.
Yeah. In a lot of ways, I look back at that time, and my coach always said that, and he would preach to us basically. He said, if you could race with your 20-year-old body and your 40-year-old brain, you would be so much more successful. And at the time, I was like, like I kind of got it. But now at 35, like I totally get it. I wish I had my 20-year-old body, and I wish all the things that I know now I could implement then. So in a lot of ways, I lived like a normal college student. Like I didn't get enough sleep, but I also was aware that my body was my engine and I needed to make good choices most of the time. So it wasn't like I was out drinking the night before a race or anything like that, but the diet was fair. But I was running 80 miles a week, so it would burn.
I mean, you're not worried about macros. You're just worried about whatever you need to do to fuel that
I was
machine.
just eating. But, I think the physical part of it was really hard. I mean, I'd show up to practice at 2:30, do a lot of like prehab stuff, get in the hot tank, stretch, foam roll. Workouts took anywhere from an hour to 2.5 hours, depending on what was up that day. And then I'd spend another 30 minutes cooling down, stretching, icing, doing all that stuff. So I was really good from 2:30 to 5:30 every day. Like during practice time, I was on. I was probably as good as you could get there. But outside of that, from like a situational standpoint of being social and things like that, I probably could have done that a little bit better. But from a mindset standpoint, I don't think I ever took off like the goal. Like I remember being in class, like writing down splits. Okay, so 59.5, then another 59.5. That'll put me at 159 flat at 800. Really just always thinking like this is something that I really want. I was good at that.
Now, this book here on the table, Mindset, the New Psychology of Success. Were you reading this back in college, or is this something?
This is something new. So my coach was really big on mindset. He said, because in the track world, everybody thinks that people are doping. If somebody beats you, you're like, oh, probably on drugs. That guy's on dope. That guy's doing EPO. You don't want to look at it like they're better than you. So they're doing drugs and you're not. So there's chatter all the time about who's doing drugs and who's not. But my coach said, the most or the best performance enhancing drug that you could ever take is a positive mindset. And that was another one where I was like, it makes sense, but I just don't really get it. I get it a lot more now. And the theory behind mindset is that you have a growth mindset. So there's fixed mindsets and growth mindsets. And I think everybody has a little bit of mix of both of those. So a fixed mindset would just be like, I'm not that good at it. a growth mindset is I'm not that good at it now, but soon I will be. And I was really good at having a growth mindset with anything that had to do athletically. Like if I missed a free throw, like I'd be like, oh, I want to get better at that. I need to shoot a lot of free throws. But with school, I remember just thinking like, I'm just not any good at calculus because I looked at it one time and I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. But, so I had this awareness of mindset, but now everything that I look at and what I would challenge anybody to do is just always think like, if you're not good at something, finish that with yet.
Right.
Like, I'm not good at this yet.
And you ever read, I think it's The Obstacle is the Way?
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever read that book? It's a great book, but it kind of talks about that. And I think some of that, to your point, comes with age.
Mm-hmm.
You see calculus when you're 19 or 20, and you see no purpose of it.
Yeah.
You see things nowadays, and you're kind of like, I'm kind of up for the challenge.
Yeah.
You hear the word
after this.
You hear the word mental toughness thrown around a lot these days, where really, and at our age now, it's a big deal because you really have the maturity to work on that mental toughness. And but talk about the early days. When you were growing up, did you always want to be a runner? I mean, because most kids I don't see out there, my kids at least, they're not like, let me go run 3 to 5 miles, just for fun.
Yeah. So my running journey is actually kind of interesting. So I was like the kid that played all the sports, and I don't think at any age before 15 somebody would have said that John Richardson, he's going to be a D1 athlete. Like I was good in the sense that maybe I was like one of the better kids in my gym class. So not even like the best in my school, but I played traveling soccer, played basketball, did just about anything a boy will do, played pickup football, basketball, those things. In 6th grade, I tried out for the track team and actually got cut. I don't know what middle school has cuts aside from mine.
not enough seats on the bus.
Yeah, I don't know why. Like you would cut somebody, but I did. I got cut. And the thing that I remember most about that, and that I think says a lot about the mindset that I had and the belief that I had in myself, is that I went to the coaches afterwards and asked them why they cut me. And I didn't think anything of it at the time, but I think back of that part of the story, and I'm like, man, I had a pretty good mindset. I had a pretty good belief in myself that I felt strongly enough that I deserved to be on that team that I went and asked them. And I think that that's been kind of what's driven me more than anything physical is like I've always had this sort of belief in myself that if I want to do something, I'm going to find a way.
Yeah. Don't tell me what I can't do.
Yeah.
I'm going to go find a way. Mindset.
Yeah,
that's great. And that's a great point. You listen back into a few episodes. You listen to Marine snipers that didn't make it the first time around. You listen to people that didn't make it into medical school on the show that didn't make it around. And it's a common theme of, we'll just call it resilience. Yeah. And kudos to you for, as a 12-year-old, going up to your coach and being like, respectfully, man, what's up?
Essentially what it was.
So you eventually make a team.
Yeah, so I made the team the next year and was moderately successful. And then I don't know what happened in 8th grade, but I also became way better at soccer. Not like a collegiate level soccer player, but I was like really a lot better. So maybe I just hit a growth spurt. So I got a lot better at soccer. And then my 8th grade track season was really good. Like I think I ran under 5 minutes for the mile, set like our middle school record. And that really sort of catapulted me into thinking, okay, well, in high school, I'm going to run cross country. Because at that point, I was maybe going to do soccer. I really didn't know. I might not have done anything, but that season solidified, like running is going to be my path.
All in.
Yeah.
8th grade, 9th grade.
Yeah, so then in 9th grade and every year after that, like cross country, indoor track, outdoor track.
So almost year round. I mean,
running became a year round sport at that point with, breaks in between. And then also, I lifeguarded in the summer, a lot like Dennis did 2 shows ago. Same thing, like he talked about the workouts that they did. I got phenomenally fit in the summer, but not necessarily the most fit for running. Like I would bulk up a little bit because I was doing like lots of push-ups and, you get interested in lifeguard stuff, rowing, swimming, girls. Distracts you a little bit.
In there, sure.
Yeah, my summer miles weren't as high as they should be, but I whipped it into shape pretty quickly come the fall.
Yeah.
At what point in you're running year-round track in high school, you're lifeguarding in the summer, at what point do letters start showing up in the mail saying, hey, we saw you, let's talk a little bit further from universities?
So, letters started coming, I think, my sophomore year. So, but from some smaller schools. But I remember the first time I got a letter from a big school was UNC. And I was like, whoa, this is really, really cool. Yeah. That was sometime in my sophomore year. And then I ran pretty fast as a sophomore. I was second in the state of New Jersey And then my junior year, letters started to come in from a lot of bigger schools. And then I think the rules may have changed, but at the time when I was getting recruited, colleges could start calling you on July 1st. So July 1st, the phone calls come pouring, maybe not pouring in, but maybe remembering that a little more.
Embellishing a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe. Is this pre-cell phone?
Yeah.
Is it in the kitchen? Your mom's like,
yeah.
John, someone's on the phone for you.
Yeah. There was not two. We didn't set up two different phones. But I was talking to a college coach every night. So, and it's sort of getting to the routine of like the coaches that you want to talk to call pretty much the same day of the week at the same time. So you come into a routine, and the large number of calls get filtered down pretty quickly into smaller calls. And I never in a million years would have guessed that I would have gone to Kentucky. I didn't even really know much about it as a state other than there's fried chicken and horses. Like all of the stereotypes of Kentucky existed. They're not true, by the way, but they existed in my mind before I ever went there. But they had a good track team, so I knew about them. And my mom had this policy, I'll call it a policy. She said, if a coach is willing to call you, you need to take the time to at least tell them you're not interested. Answer the phone and tell them. Don't just leave them hanging. That's just rude. So she instilled that value in me. And then Kentucky is one of the coaches that I talked to, developed a really good relationship with the coach. We talked throughout my senior year, took an official visit, loved it. Team was really good, and just kind of hit it off. And it was really a pretty easy decision to make.
What other events did you run there at Kentucky besides the mile?
I ran cross country, so I did run cross country, and then in the track I ran 800, 1500 mile, 3000, and I ran one 5000 too.
And you mentioned earlier there's cross country, there's outdoor track and indoor track.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of what was your favorite?
I loved the training of cross country. And one of the things I really liked about cross country was just the camaraderie with the guys. So you do long runs together, you do long repeats. The workouts are harder in a much less demanding way, if that makes sense. Like track workouts leave you physically exhausted, like your legs hurt. I think of it like the difference between like a heavy like CrossFit 2-minute workout versus like a 40-minute boot camp. A 40-minute boot camp leaves you feeling a little more euphoric, a little less beat down. So I think I liked the training more from cross country, but more than anything, I enjoyed the camaraderie with my teammates. But I was way better at the track.
When you're a collegiate runner and you're a senior and you graduate, what do you do? Were you at one point where you're like, well, like what would be the next step, like at the Olympics? And so what was your kind of path? You do the 4-minute thing. You said that was your senior day. You go on to do some other meets, and then you get your diploma. So you obviously passed calculus at some point along the road.
I think it was pass-fail, so I guess I did pass.
There it is. Yeah, there you go. And then we have Wildcat for life. And all right, John. So now what?
That's a really good question. So coming up, I was probably like a fringe professional athlete. So in track and field, there are professional athletes. The top end make good money. Then like it's a sharp cliff to the next tier. And I was in the next tier. So I was really hoping that I could join a professional group that was going to cover my expenses, my travel, and I was all on board to just live like a pauper and chase the dream, right? The dream being the Olympics. So as I approached the end of my senior year, I started to just think like, my wife, my then girlfriend, we're getting pretty serious. I didn't really want to leave. So I was looking at ways that I could chase the dream and like plan for the future. So I enrolled in graduate school in health administration and then got a small sponsorship with Reebok and raced as a professional athlete for one season. In the middle of that season, though, I had a really kind of defining moment in my life and in my manhood. It was my fiance at the time, so I proposed to Andrea in November. My would have been father-in-law passed away. So he had a sudden heart attack, and all of a sudden, like overnight, running became a very, in my mind, I realized it is a very selfish pursuit. And it just lost its joy. And I realized like not only am I not getting what I used to get out of it, it's not what I need to do in the moment at this point in my life. So I ended up finishing that season. I didn't run, and I ran fine. It wasn't anything special. but the decision to keep on running, like in my mind, there wasn't one. So I just got an internship, started on my career path, and then got into coaching shortly thereafter. And I don't have any regrets about my running, like stopping then. That was 100% the right thing I needed to do to be there to support Andrea. And I hate that because her father loved running so much. He would have not liked that was the reason. But, there comes a time in life where you got to make decisions, and that was an easy one to make.
And that's crazy because sometimes we think things are so important until they're not.
Yeah.
And then it's one of those things where you're like, yeah, I kind of miss it, but man, this is so much more vastly important in my life right now. Your relationship with your wife and being there for, and that's kudos to be able to do that, because I'm sure that wasn't an easy thing to kind of walk away from and to put all your energy there. If there were kids, or really for anyone who wants to kind of perform at the next level, maybe we're talking like high school kids though, in particular, what advice would you give them when they're kind of on the path and to get to that collegiate level of performance of being an athlete? Yeah.
So, and this is from my own personal experience, like things don't have to be serious all of the time. I think there's such a push from, and really I guess I would be speaking to parents, not necessarily kids. Like, let your kids be kids. Let them play the sports that they want to play. The cream will rise to the top regardless of how many elite camps they go to or how many hours they spend with a private coach. Like, as long as they're enjoying it, cool, let them do it. But if they start resenting it or not wanting to do it, let them back off a little bit, because if they're not happy, they're going to burn out and they're not going to want to do it past high school anyway. So all of that's going to be for naught. Like I think it was on last week's show with Dr.
Danny.
Dr. Danny, yeah, talking about youth sports a little bit and the financial implications of like how much people are investing in that, and like would it be more fruitful if you had invested it in like a financial yeah. So like I was listening to that, I'm like, it probably would be more fruitful in so many different ways, not just financially, like relationally. Like if you invested that time that they were at that elite camp with like being a dad, like that's going to be way more important. Like the return on investment from a lot of this specialization in this elite sporting just is not fruitful in any way.
Yeah, it's so hard to make it to that next level. And actually, we'll be releasing episode 5 where we get into that issue a little bit about, hey, what if you invested that $10,000 a year that you might have been paying for travel ball or something, personal coaching for your kids? Like, what does that look like when they're 40?
Yeah, a lot.
Check in on episode 5.
We had an opportunity to watch the video of the 4-minute mile. What was the competition like in the field that day?
Aside from me and David, my training partner, and no disrespect if anybody, they're not probably listening to this, that was in that race as well. It was pretty weak. Like it was, and that's what I was saying, like we weren't planning on running the race that day until Tuesday. So it's not like we called people and said, hey, it's going to be a sub 4-minute race. But the fact that David and I, we push each other all the time. We know how to run with each other. And we had somebody else come in and run the first half of it. So the competition outside of David was weak.
How did David do in the race?
He won.
So you wait, for all the listeners out there, John ran a sub 4-minute mile, 3 minutes and 59 seconds, and came in second place.
Yeah.
Second place.
I came in second. Well, David had run under 4 minutes before, and he was an Olympian in 2008. I mean, he was really good. So, like, if you watch the video, like, David finishes, and, like, nobody even talks to him. And then I finished, and everybody's like, yeah, John, you did it.
Yeah. See, like, what about, do you guys still talk? Do you and David still?
I saw him about a year ago. Yeah, he's a coach out in California. He's doing well.
I didn't know if he just sent you little texts to rib you from time to time.
No.
Remember that time I ran a faster sub 4 mile.
He hasn't done that. He's gracious.
So, John, since you didn't win that day, you did break the 4-minute barrier. We at the Dudeology show have found some other records that we want to help you train for in hopes that you get that elusive win. Okay, so we're going to go through some of these, and these are from Men's Journal.
Okay.
5 weirdest ways to move a mile. Okay, so we really want to challenge you to see if maybe you could take on one of these challenges and beat the record. So the first one is the beer mile. Okay. Now it's a 1 mile run, but you've got to chug a beer while you're running every single lap, right? A 12-ounce can, only cans. And right now, and this may be a little bit of old data, but you've got to be able to do that and crush that in 4 minutes and 57 seconds. Thoughts on that?
Not a chance. No, not a chance.
That's insane that somebody can do that.
It's insanity.
4 minutes and 57 seconds.
Yeah.
Not to take away from your 4 minute mile.
No, that's more impressive. that sub 5 beer mile is really impressive.
Now, coming in at the least efficient way to travel a mile is the burpee mile.
Yeah.
Now, if anybody, this is just brutal. If you haven't seen this, it's do one burpee, a broad jump, and then continuously do burpee broad jumps for an entire mile. Now, we don't have all the data on this, but this is going to take well over 2 hours. Okay. Now I think this is one that you could probably tackle
because
I think
in my wheelhouse.
We talked a little bit about your CrossFit days. Maybe tell us a little bit about your coaching there.
Yeah, so I've been a CrossFit coach for over 7 years, certified level 1 and level 2 CrossFit coach. After running, I discovered weightlifting and just going to the gym. I never touched a weight when I was in college because I tended to add muscle more easily than some people. So if I lifted too much, I would get big and then my coach would get mad. So I didn't lift at all. I discovered lifting weights and I really was like, oh man, lifting is pretty fun. And I wanted to get bigger, so I started doing CrossFit and got up to actually 200 pounds doing powerlifting, Olympic lifting. Really got into it, liked CrossFitting. But then I started to realize like I'm way less athletic at 200 pounds than I was when I was 150 pounds. So now I'm like right in the middle there. I feel athletic, but I can still lift weights. And the burpee mile is intriguing. I'm thinking maybe we could do a little bit of research.
What's the most amount of burpees you've done in one, just straight through sitting?
500.
500.
Yeah.
You'll do well over 500 in a burpee mile, I think.
Yeah, I don't know. That's
so
what
miles 50 to 80 on feet,
Yeah.
5,280 feet, and you figure you probably.
Oh yeah. I'm not going to broad jump 10 feet each time.
No, but you're going to broad jump probably 4 because you're going to get tired. Those broad jumps are good. I mean 4 to 5, but let's say you broad jump 5. Let's cut it in half. 1,000 burpees.
I say that
more,
this one right now is
1,200 burpees.
Top of the list right now.
Let's do some research on what the time is. If it's like 40 minutes and some freak show, okay,
we're gonna move on.
But if it's like an hour,
listen. If we set up and we think it's doable, we're gonna do it live. And
I'd be down.
But no pressure. You kind of need to set the record.
Yeah, I'll start training. I'll do. We do need to be in the neighborhood doing burpees and running.
We do need to move on to the next event though, which would be the joggling mile.
Joggling. I can juggle.
Okay, so he can juggle. Can he run a mile in juggle and do it within less than 4 minutes and 43 seconds?
No, can't do it.
I mean, that's
I can say I can juggle well.
But
now the record was set in the 80s, which I guess is referred to as the golden era of juggling, though too. So I'm not sure, and maybe the doping era as well. But I don't know. How
remember I said I think anybody faster than me is on drugs. This guy was on drugs.
Possibly.
The next one's not even one we're going to even talk about. But rolling an orange with your nose a mile. I mean, who's doing that? Like, who has the time?
Well, we could just make one up that's random like that one is.
And we can, just come up with
our own world record.
The original record. And pushing a car a mile. Now, that might be something, if we could get someone to donate a car and we have the mile laid out, we could do a golf cart.
A golf cart? That would be very
that'd be pretty easy.
Yeah.
Push one a mile.
John drove his golf cart over to the studio tonight anyway. I mean, we could do that right now.
We could do that right now. That could happen right now.
Yeah, I'm loving the golf cart life too, by the way.
That could happen right now, but John's brought some awesome stuff.
He did.
For us to partake in.
One thing about the sub 4 minute mile I want to just say, one of the most impressive stats that I hear about it is that more people have climbed Mount Everest than have run a sub 4 minute mile.
It's pretty impressive.
But nobody has done both.
Well, we should add Everest. No one's ran up Everest, probably.
No.
Right? So we could add that.
When I hear that, I'm like, I'm surprised there wasn't a sub 4 guy that was like, hey, nobody's done that before. I'm going to do it.
Yeah. Everest these days is a bit crowded.
Well, there's only 1,500 of y'all in the world, and I'm sure some of them are probably dead by now. So you're looking at you don't have a huge talent pool to.
That's true.
Mountain climbing talent pool, I guess, to choose from.
So let's get into this awesome stuff that John's brought.
What did you pour here for us, John?
Yeah, so I got some Bland's bourbon. This came from my buddy as a going away gift. His name is Will Rover. He's a really good dude. He would like this show. But he gave me some high quality bourbon. So he said that you should give gifts that you want to receive, not gifts that you want to give away. And I thought that was pretty good dude advice.
Absolutely.
That is great.
And in the spirit of Kentucky,
Yeah,
cheers.
Cheers, guys. Go Wildcats.
Yeah.
Go
Big Blue.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Man, that's good stuff.
That is good.
So this is the portion of our show where we talk about killer gear, and John's brought some killer gear with him. So John, what'd you bring?
Cool. So this one, I'll go with the safety one first. I know safety's kind of lame, but hey, we want to die, you know?
Yeah.
So this is a running vest that my mother-in-law got me. So I like it because the bulky part goes on the back, so it feels like a little backpack. And then you hit the button, and these strings run over your shoulders. And then it's got some cinch cords right here that you can make it really tight so it doesn't bounce at all. And then if you're feeling crazy, you can change the color on it. Well,
Okay.
maybe I broke
So
it.
how comfortable is that when you're wearing it?
Yeah, you don't even know you have it.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if you ever wore a heart rate monitor. It kind of feels like you're wearing a heart rate
Okay,
monitor.
just right
That's
there.
it.
Okay,
Yeah.
awesome. Because those historically have been, you look like a crossing guard
Yeah.
who's out there running, and they're kind of chafing, and,
Yeah.
and really, they kind of look really
They kind of
And I get safety first, and I understand that. It's not how it looks, but that looks like it's streamlined.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's got this yellow reflective thing, but at night you don't really see the yellow. You just see the reflective, and then you see this more than anything. So it's,
And this is a Tracer 360.
Yeah, Tracer 360 visibility vest.
Okay.
I wear it biking too, so
Awesome.
it's pretty.
We'll check that out. And safety first, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So you brought something else for us.
Yeah, so this is a recent ad that I got, Garmin Forerunner 235.
Okay.
I'm still figuring out the features, but this is Garmin's sort of mid-level. So there's a Garmin 35 and then a Garmin like 6000. They all have different features. This one's got everything that I want. So it's got the GPS, it connects with Strava, it can do swimming and biking. It's waterproof, obviously, if you can swim with it, but it's really good.
Good all-around watch. We've reviewed a watch before that wasn't a smartwatch like the Garmin. It was just a standard analog MVMT watch. A good Father's Day gift on episode 2.
Yeah.
But this, so you said it's a Garmin
Forerunner 235.
235.
Yeah, and it's nice in the sense that I can get notifications, but I can't really do anything with them. So I don't feel like if I'm away from my phone and I get a text message, like I know I got a text message, but I'm not like one of those people on their iPhone iWatches. It's like,
yeah. for all your listeners out there, John just mimicked talking to his Garmin.
If you trade always looking like this to always looking like this, you haven't accomplished trying to be fully engaged with the people around you.
And it's like a reasonable vibration, so I can like sense it, but it's not like disruptive as well. And that's good. It's got heart rate variability. So that's one thing that I've gotten into is just kind of tracking my heart rate. I use it a lot for recovery. You know, my stance is that I don't take the risks that I used to take in training now. I'm playing the long game with it. I just want to be consistent and get in better shape every day for the rest of my life.
That's good advice.
Keep getting better. That falls in line with what we like to at the Dudeology show. We call the movement, and we believe that by making ourselves better, we're going to inherently make those around us, our families, our communities, our companies, the world a better place. And that falls right into there. Speaking of recovery, there's a foam roller sitting right back there, and I believe this is a new ad to the set of the Dudeology show. How often are you doing things like that deep muscle, that recovery type exercises? Yeah,
quite often. I have a foam roller in our garage gym, and I'll tell people about stretching and just moving and putting yourself in weird positions. Like, just move until you find something that feels like a good stretch. You know, don't stretch till it hurts, but if it stretches and it feels nice, just stay there. It doesn't matter how silly you look or how weird it looks. Like, don't find some protocol. Just move around and find something that feels good for you. Same thing with a foam roller. Like, just lay on it, move on it, put your arm on it. Just find something that feels nice.
Yeah, I just got this in today. It's from Trigger Point foam roller, and I've been needing it. I sat on it today and rolled around. It feels amazing. So I've just gotten into foam rolling, and I think it's great.
Nice. Now, John, you are now, as we get close to wrapping up, though, you are now into like one-on-one coaching. Yeah. And performance coaching. Yeah. I call it you coaching. So, like, ideally, everybody has something in their life that they want to be either better at or accomplish. You know, a goal that's been on their mind for a long time, and for whatever reason, they've talked themselves out of doing it, or they don't know how to start, or they're scared to do it, or they got a lot of questions about it.
So what I like to do is just work with people on accomplishing whatever that goal was. It might be to lose 50 pounds. It might be to run a marathon. It might be to start a business. Like, I like to take my background in health administration, in coaching, in CrossFit, and running, in the books that I've read, and just sort of apply that to working with an individual to build a relationship with them so that they can accomplish anything that's important to them.
I like it.
And you had posted something, I saw it somewhere, that you give you a goal and you'll get us there in 100 days.
Yeah. So I think 100 days is like a cool amount of time because it's not like forever. It's 3 months-ish. 100 carries a lot of weight with people. So, and then you look at it in 10 block chunks. So each 10 blocks you want to achieve something. A lot of it's building habits. So taking your end goal and where you are now, and then thinking like transcending time. Like as long as what you're doing gets you there, then keep doing it. Chase the low-hanging fruit. It might be like the last step of it, but if you can do it right now and it's easy, just do it. So you're always just making progress, whatever that goal is, over the course of those 100 days.
Well, that is some good action, and we'll have to have you on in recurring episodes as our resident performance coach.
Yeah, I'd love to.
Man. We'd definitely love to have you. Well, thank you again, John, for sharing your story and your killer gear. That is some good action. Make sure to check out all of our past episodes at Dudeology Show or dudeologyshow.com, wherever you subscribe to podcasts. If you want to get the full video and audio experience, make sure to check us out on YouTube. Thanks for listening. We are your professors of Dudeology, and it's time to move out and draw fire. Thanks for listening to The Dudeology Show, the place for cool stories, killer gear, and awesome stuff. Make sure to subscribe, like, and share on all your socials at Dudeology Show.